Motion to approve the so moved. Trish, want a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Excuse me, we're starting the operations meeting. If you can make your way up, that'd be great.
All right, solar.
Thank you. I just want to bring to the board, solar is a project that I know the board has discussed in the past, and Steve had asked me to kind of take that project up with David Levy. I've met with a couple committee members from the, community members from Iowa City who had, I believe, had talked to the board at one time, and started just dialogue with them about what their thoughts were of the solar. And I think it was, as Steve explained to me, it was a demonstration project to look at what we might do. The initial was maybe a broader, bigger, more developed program. So we had that discussion with them. I'm going to meet with them again Friday to talk with them about maybe here's some things we could do and kind of get their support as we move forward. I've also met with a representative from Mid-America and talked with that individual about, give me a broad picture of energy. Now, we know the district has been, last month, the last board meeting, we got a check from Mid-American Alliance for over $400,000 in energy savings. So the district has already done many energy-saving projects. Looking at the solar project, as I said, as a demonstration. So I've also met with Johnson County representatives because Johnson County has begun to look at some of these activities. The biggest problem, not a problem, but the biggest concern as a school district is the fact that counties and cities can operate with home rule, as you may have known, which means they can decide what they wish to do. School districts operate under what is called Dillon's rule, which is basically, if you're not authorized to do it, you don't have that authority. So it kind of limits us to go out and do some of the things, for example, that Johnson County or up in the Dubuque area, they've done.
Well, just to stop you right there.
Sure.
So how is buying solar power just to buy solar?
There was exactly. It was a third-party agreement that the Supreme Court said it was okay. Otherwise, the solar company went in to provide solar power, and Alliance basically took them to court saying they're a utility. So they found that they're not, so they could do that. So they can do it as a third party. We don't have that opportunity to do that. So if anything we would do would have to come out of our general fund at this point, with savings coming back to help pay for the project.
So in what way is Dillon's rule constraining us? I'm just not sure I'm connecting.
We don't have the
There's no
authority.
legal authority that says you can go do a third-party agreement on solar where they pay for panels and then
And that's leasing from them.
Now,
Yeah, it winds up turning into a lease payment for us rather than a power purchase agreement because of the way it's set up. We can't do those. So that's why, like, if you go out on Melrose and you see the Johnson County one that's out there, they did a power purchase agreement on that, which makes it that their upfront cost much lower than it would be for us. That doesn't mean that we can't do it. We're just looking at other ways.
I mean, I guess I don't want to, I've been meaning to just immerse myself in the Dillon's rule, at least so I understand it better than I do, because I don't. But how sure are we that Dillon's rule prevents us from doing that?
well, that's why I want to do the legal.
Yeah, what we did was we actually, IASB, I worked with Allers Law Firm out of, I don't know if I sent you that.
Ron Peeler.
Yeah, Ron Peeler from Allers. IASB hired him to go through and take a look at this right after the court case. He's got about a hour-long, well, it takes him an hour to narrate it, but he's got a PowerPoint that IASB put up, which I should be able to find and send to you.
Is that the one you,
I gave it to Cliff.
I have that audio tape for it, and I have the PowerPoint, and I certainly.
Yeah, if you- maybe forwarding that out would help, because that, I think that would help you see how Ron looked at it and where he sees constraints and where there are options. Because I think there's some options inside there, but they're a little bit more limited.
And that's why a demonstration project, if it's kept relatively, as a demonstration project, something that maybe the district could afford, rather than going into a big project. Talking to the Mid-America representative, our energy cost is very low in comparison to a home or even some industries because of the size and what we do. It's running like 7-8 cents a kilowatt hour. So that's pretty low from the standpoint of what would be the payback on the large installation of solar. It might take longer than you might see in a normal situation where they may be paying 12 to 18 cents a kilowatt hour. So the thought is, okay, let's draw back and see and do a demonstration project that we might do. And I've asked the administrators in the schools as well as central staff some ideas. I've got two. I've got one that Dwayne indicated to me. Any concern about solar is if you try to put it on an existing facility, you have to make sure that your walls can handle the panels and the wind shear and other engineering aspects. But if Dwayne indicated, if he's looking at a bus office, what's the term?
Yeah,
Bus
bus
barn,
maintenance office.
At Liberty's, that isn't even, it's being designed now in the second phase. So we could design that as a solar project. Another,
Well, a little side to that, there's two other entities involved in it. The city of Cornwall, the city of North Liberty, are gonna have a big valve in that building where they can backfeed each other's water supplies. If one system goes down, they can backfeed and share. And so there's three public entities involved in that building. So I just thought that might be a good place to.
Yeah, it might give us an opportunity to have somebody else do the power purchase agreement.
So that, it could be on our property, but.
We
it
can
would be
design the
there.
building.
yeah, it could be there, yeah.
We design the
Pursue that.
building so that it's structurally
We're providing the
sound.
building at no cost,
Yep.
basically.
Correct.
So they can put that in there. They
Yeah.
I think they could help us with that.
Now, with your, so essentially with Dylan's rule, we don't have any examples other than someone buying something cash
Right.
because of the third-party agreement. So that we're stuck with that unless legislation changes.
Yeah, and most of the districts that you see doing it right now that we've found are relatively small districts, and they're paying cash for these, and then they know that the payout is over time, and in many cases, they're not growing like we are, so they don't have this need like we do, and so they can flex their money.
Centerville is one.
Yeah.
I was looking at something in the news had Bennett the other night on news, which is a district east of us, that's doing solar on the ground, and the superintendent said, we're doing this so we can save our district, because we see a payback for what our electrical costs are.
And I'm assuming, the same rules apply to wind or anything else we would want to do too, so, with that.
So the thought is to get started.
By when?
Well, I'm hoping to get a project done by April and June at the latest when I leave, to get the groundwork set, to get approval, and probably won't go on, but at least the board knows that we're in the direction of moving on this demonstration project.
Sounds good, sounds better. I think we just use this as a lead model, work through all these.
Right. Try to get through the regulatory hurdles, understand what the cost implications are,
Maybe we take some
what's the
risk up
stretch on
front.
Dylan. Yeah.
Push the envelope a little bit.
And the other option that came up to me and just was over at Tate. They're talking to the Habitat for Humanities to put a pergola on part of the building, and if we're designing that, maybe do something with solar on that panel as well, or instead. So I have a couple ideas right now.
If we're gonna take some risk and push the envelope, let's do it at small scale so our risk is.
Sure.
All right, great. Good start. Just know that you have, I think you get the feel, you have our full support.
Oh, I do.
Lead
And
model.
any way we can help get a better understanding, because it was all new to me when I came in too, so I'm learning it as we go. But we will send that audio and the PowerPoint out. I'll get that to Kim and then you can send that out.
And we should have, if we followed our standard and put in previous meetings, we might have already had the link to that.
I think it might be out there, but just so that you don't have to
Yeah.
look for it, we can send it out to you.
They took the link off, so you
Yeah.
have to go with the 2 files that,
Good thing we downloaded
Used
them.
to be
Yeah.
YouTube. All right, next topic, next 9 language. Does anybody have a proposal?
well, I just wanted to talk a little briefly about a concern that I had on the note portion of Appendix 9. And so right there where Steve is highlighting, the note says, impact on different district operating expenses. Facility projects can impact district operating expenses in many ways. I agree with that. For purposes of this appendix, and anticipated changes in the district operating expenses include changes in staffing levels, utility costs, and maintenance projects will be specified as possible given the level of design at the time. I had a concern that this was a bit broad or possibly a little bit ambiguous in the fact that if we're doing, for instance, a roofing project or a tuck pointing project with the brick on the outside of a building or those kinds of things, I think it would be not a wise use of my time to have to go through this exercise every time we did a facility-related project. I mean, I believe,
So, your recommendation is to delete it?
well, no,
What if we said major anticipated effects?
well, but we have to define major. And
Do you want a
I-
dollar figure on it?
And I was thinking $10 million, like a building or
Sure.
something like that, I think would be a very appropriate for us to do. I'm just pulling that out of the air, but I think it needs to be large enough that we recognize there's going to be an impact,
Can I,
don't you?
can I add to that? You know, and you've seen them. These 2 gentlemen are just getting them, but we've done these energy rebates and things that we gotta check for.
Right.
When we do that white group report, we actually analyze the building and determine what the anticipated energy costs are.
And that's what this does.
So when we get to that level, which that's probably a good way to get
Jump to any issue with setting a threshold, Chris, Bill?
No. Yeah, it's.
Do you want to propose?
I think it can be valuable in there, I just don't want it for every little thing.
No, understood, yeah, for like the small projects and things, that's really.
Are you going
Right.
to propose it, bring it back here, or are you going to propose it, take it to the board?
However you want to handle it, Chief.
It's not urgent, right?
No,
So we can bring it back here?
yes.
All right. Why don't you propose something, bring it back?
Okay, I will.
Any other proposals?
Is there any possibility for service contract, design costs, bidding, that type of thing in here as well, or is this not the appropriate place to have it?
Well, it could be.
We can take a look
I
at
don't know
that.
how that affects the energy, the building operation.
No, we're switching gears.
No, yeah, no, excuse me, I'm just, no, I mean, I'm just talking about like the architectural plans and that type of thing.
We currently don't have that as our overall bidding policy, as you know. So that would be a different policy level discussion. Do we want to do that? Do we want to take that on and that kind of thing?
Okay.
And we can certainly engage in that discussion.
Okay.
Okay. But I don't think it fits with the
Oh, very-
appendix. nine.
No,
So
oh, okay.
And so-
Wherever,
maybe a later date, agenda
Sure.
item, whatever
Okay.
it might be.
well, and I'm just curious, where does that discussion start and everything that way?
Well, chapter
Direction.
20, chapter 26 is, as you know, specifically excludes service providers, okay? And so we're not compelled to do that by law. And as far as the pre-qualification and so forth, the service contractors are excluded from that as well. So we can go and we can pre-qualify architects and things like that, but we can't do that with
If I could
other
jump in,
contractors.
and
Yes.
this, David and I did this, but
Yeah.
we do have a procedure that we've gone through in the past, in the last 3 years since we started this, in qualifying architects.
Mhm.
And I would suggest that we start with a review of what we've been doing, and then if you want to revise that, because
Right.
we've pre-qualified 13 or 14 architects, and now I think we're up to like 8 engineering firms, and we've gone through a pretty rigorous process.
Okay.
So I would suggest that we have that discussion. before
Okay.
we get too far.
Excellent.
That sounds good,
That's fine.
actually. That's a good place to start.
Okay.
So
Okay.
appendix 9, we're gonna bring back your preferred language on the,
Yeah, I'll work something up and it won't be any, it'll be kind of along the lines that I
on
stated.
design, we're gonna come back with what we've done so far.
Just talk about our process for how we handle service providers. Because that includes auditors, you know, our audit firm, our banking relationships. I mean, it's just not construction.
Correct.
Service providers cover a wide gamut.
Absolutely.
And my only thought in step 2 was, you know, you could put some language that says, you know, we'll consider best value and it's kind of what we're
Sure,
already
same
doing.
criteria that we're using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we're just documenting what we're already doing, which is kind of what you're proposing to bring back.
Right.
Right.
We could say something like that.
Okay. Well, that's a good place to
But
start.
we bring those 2 things back.
Okay.
All right.
So I think the point's a good one. I mean, there's a process and
Right.
if you guys were to leave, you know, we want that to continue. So how do we put it in? A little bit of language, not being too restrictive or whatever.
All right. We can do that.
Anything else on that one?
No, that appendix 9 will do that.
We can always slow down if we want. I'm just trying to keep this.
No?
All right, competitive bidding contracts, some great information in there.
Yeah, we wanted to provide you with some documents here under the Iowa competitive bidding law. And, you know, it's more of, it's really the sole purpose of this particular agenda item was just to talk about, again, what schools are required to do, what schools legally can do, and then have the conversation about, you know, Judge Forrest Dillon again and what, and what we can actually do as a school district versus others. But for instance, in this guide to legal issues, it talks about local preference and how we can't on page 11 how we really can't do local preference, okay, without it being a violation of the competitive bid law. This document talks about as far as contractor qualifications and how we have to go about contractor qualifications in order to conform with a competitive bidding environment. So the reason I bring all of this up is basically as we move on to the next agenda item on the taxpayer assurance, and Director Hemingway provided us with that document the last time we met, and we feel that there's some real value in that document. There's some things in there that I feel, and Dwayne feels both, that we can really tighten up our bid specifications by including. But we want to make sure that what we're putting in there is legal and consistent with the competitive bid law, okay? Director Hemingway also suggested that we take a look at some private businesses and their bidding documents, and I'm in the process of gathering those up. And we're going to try and bring all this together and assimilate it into, and that quality assurance document into our bid documents, and then we want to bring that back to you in the ops committee and let you look at that draft product, okay? And the whole design behind that is to really shore up and make our bid documents the best they can be. And so it'll take us a little bit to do that, but we're in the middle, or in the process of doing that, and we're working along with that. So
A couple of additions to that. In this document, they even point out some of the differences between schools, districts, and cities, or county school districts and cities
Right.
and counties. So it points out some of the differences. And this was put together by Master Builders and Association, or AIA, and there's one other public entity, and then a respected law firm, Eddie, who does a lot of contractor work. And there are a lot, this is really a good guide to go by. It's easy to read, it's easy to understand. I've used it for years.
So I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a good time to bring it to you, so.
Yeah. So what would this copy be called next time?
well, it's our bid specifications.
Bid
We're not
specifications.
going to call it. I mean,
Which leads us into the next item, so.
right. It leads us into the next item. I'm not sure we want to call it the taxpayer quality assurance document, because we're incorporating that information into our bid documents, and we want to make them ours.
Right, exactly.
And we've had this conversation, and Director Hemingway, I think, it feels good about that, and we're moving forward. So these are just our bid documents that we've assimilated this other information into to really shore it up.
So,
Good, Chris?
Yes, I mean, I have one little question you might be able to clarify for me in that little reference part.
uh,
Between that paragraph, are they saying that we can't do that because there's nothing authorizing us to do that? Or are they saying that we can't do that because it would violate the competitive bidding statutes? It seems like slightly different.
only a word or this.
Well, there's a
Well,
quote.
I always think, well, when you got an argument,
It says, it clearly says there that you will be violating competitive bid law if you read
That
that.
doesn't
It says
seem to sound.
it's strictly avoided, the very last sentence.
Yeah.
Is and illness. It's considered to be discriminatory and illegal, which should be strictly avoided under Iowa competitive bid laws. It's an
Yeah.
interpretation.
To answer your question,
We decided to-
Iowa code does allow school districts local preference for purchasing coal. We
It's
don't
still-
buy a lot of coal nowadays, okay?
Where would you get it locally?
It's still,
Is that local?
still in the code. Yeah, that's great.
But it's in the code, it
They've never
follows
taken it out.
Dillon's rule, because it's in the code, okay? But
We got that going for us.
that's the only local preference we can show, according to Dillon.
I would love, would you put that on the agenda?
Yeah, we still have a couple schools where you have to remove the coal rooms from Longfellow, Maine.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Okay, so taxpayer quality, so,
All right, so that means this is the next item.
yeah, keep going.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, we met with Director Hemingway and two union representatives and had a pretty good discussion. And what I presented them to, where I'm proposing we do is tighten our specifications. You know, these books that go out, you know, there's a lot of information on instructions to the bidders and contract documents are in these specifications. So what we reviewed, what you have copies of is the 002000 is actually a copy of the instructions to bidders that's in this particular document on the high school. Okay, I just use that as a place to start. I had, prior to beginning the last ops meeting, started to write language to include more information. I was already doing it. I've done it in a previous life. So I was trying to massage it and make it work for us. And then we had this discussion. So there are many, many things in what I was proposing for instructions and for information from contractors, you know, that many of the same questions that were in the taxpayer quality. The parts of it that we can't use, I don't believe, are the parts that require apprenticeship programs. It's not in chapter 26, and I don't think they will allow it.
Pre-qual.
And there's also, in that guide you just got, there's a whole section on not discriminating against union or non-union chefs. So that's in there as well. So if you look at this, just to make it simple, if you go to the document that says instructions to bidder, Iowa State Community School District, that last one, Steve, on there.
Yep.
If you look at it, what you're going to see, and I'll let him pull it. What you're going to see in blue are the instructions that are currently in our specifications, okay? The black is what I had started to write and bring from other sources. So what I'm doing is comparing what's in the book to what I proposed. If you go on down the page ways, just keep going, Steve. There's more of the blue, but just keep going till you see the sepia color.
Is that
It's
red?
red.
What that is, yeah.
No, it's there.
Thank you, Dave.
There you go.
Is there yet? Yeah. All right. So now this is some of the language from the taxpayer quality assurance document. And if you keep going, these areas that I've got here compare to or equal to what I've already had written. They're just maybe written in a different way, but it was already in the new document. When you get down to the very last, keep going. So all that's included. You get down to just beyond this page, that stuff. Those requests, I couldn't find a place to insert into the document. Okay, so that's information that's either already included, there's no place for it, or it's not legal to put it in. So those are three areas. I tried to merge them into one. my objective is to keep writing it, refine it, and then get it to legal for their review to make sure that what we're doing is legal. But I think we can incorporate and make the documents much tighter than they are, and it gives us kind of a firmer ground to stand on. If we choose to disqualify a contractor for whatever reason, we have background information to go with it.
Sounds good.
That's what I was, that's what I was going to get at. The whole goal here is to allow us to protect the district and to choose the very best contractor for a particular job. And this, I think these additional components helps us do that. And
Might also point out that guide that you were talking about, there is a definition and description about what is responsive and non-responsive on a bid, and what is responsible and non-responsible in terms of a contract. So there is a clear definition, and that's in this document. It's worth reading. Okay?
Great. Hey, you guys did a lot of great work, so thank you for that. It's just an official one.
we'll keep working on it.
So I guess I'm hopeful, and I think that our union friends were pretty happy with what
Oh,
we
yes, no, and I think they want to be, involved with the conversation
Yeah.
going forward and everything, and I thought it was, and I appreciate Craig and Dwayne giving us the time and allowing that, for those two gentlemen to sit in, and it was great. They felt very validated, and that their community was shaken. It was very good. I'm a little disappointed that as an educational institution, we can't do apprenticeship programs. I guess that's Dylan's rule, that's what it is. Maybe that could be a legislative priority. If we're gonna be spending millions of dollars, you'd like to think that we could, provide some opportunities for students in our community that way, but, with that, but no, I appreciate all the hard work that Craig and Wayne have done on this. And we're trying to, and for you, President Lynch, if you, with your connections with P&G, I'm sure they have a very stringent contract for construction projects, and that if we could get a blank copy, hopefully there's I wouldn't think that there'd be any trade secrets or anything in there with it, or that, but if we could get a copy of that for us to see if there's some language there we could utilize. And I had some people too just saying too from the private sector too that some of those contracts are very stringent.
what you need to ask for are the general conditions. And it's section 0 and 1 in a typical spec book. You don't need to get into all the items that you're using in the building, which is what most of this is for. But in the general conditions, it does get into that.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll check it.
So that's what we're interested in.
We may or may not be.
I understand.
I'll check into that.
Well, that might be the right term.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Moving on, insourcing, outsourcing?
Yeah, and so I thought what I do, just talk a little bit, I don't have a formal document to give you, but there are documents that help us make our decisions. I think the question was, how do we determine what's done in-house or out there, outsourced? It's late at night. There's nobody in the room except my guys. So the first of all, the first thing is we start with work orders. Okay, is a work order is a capital improvement, and I gave you a document there that kind of outlines that I share with the principals every year that isn't to give them some guidance. Basically, if it involves 2 trades or a certain dollar amount, or a door falling off a cabinet is a work order. The cabinet falling off the wall might be a capital improvement. Okay, so there's differences that are outlined in that. So we start with that, and then we get staff input. I get input I meet weekly with our staff, our grounds leads, and we talk about projects, and we talk about what's needed to be done, if they've seen anything that needs to be done. And so we keep adding it to our list, and you've seen the list, and every year we refine that list. Then we determine will it be done with, the next question is, will it be done with the facility master plan? So if there's an issue with the windows at a project, is that school under construction next year, or is that floor going to be involved in a construction project? So use your best judgment as to when that needs to be done. Can it last until the facility master plan touches that building? So that decision's made. And we update that list every year. Then we have to evaluate our staff resources. Do we have the time and do we have the skill? We have a lot of skill down there, but not a lot of time because these guys are really busy with work orders and those types of things. So that's a judgment that I make with my assistant directors. and we talk about it, do we want to do it, or do we outsource it?
Well, then a lot of discussion we've had here is, we want to keep a certain level of capability, but it goes
Right.
up and down, and,
Yeah.
every summer, we do 500-600 projects a summer, and
Right.
facilities master plan goes up and down. To me, that's the key, is what are we willing to fund on a going basis and maintain that versus the capacity.
We can't staff for the
We
peaks.
can't staff the fees.
And the other part of that is, I have a philosophy, I guess it's a personal one, but as being a carpenter and Formula, it's nice to take on a project once in a while. And I think it's
Sure.
good for our
Keeps you
guys to
fresh.
take on a project. Yeah,
Skills.
keep them fresh, they do something different, and it's worthwhile. So there's that piece. Then, do you have the available resources? Do we have the double money to do it? Do we have to prioritize projects? Because we get more requests every day than we have money for, so we,
Can I just do a check here? Is there
Yeah.
anything we want to push here, or is there a question, or you're all right?
Johnny just said two other things.
Yep.
And, so you determine that, then we do have administrative guidelines, which is another attachment you have. Basically, that's what, you've been hearing me a lot, bringing you projects from Pebble to Appendix 9. Well, if it gets over that $100,000 threshold, when the budgets and estimates start coming in, then we push that to Appendix 9. And there's a chart there that we use. Dave and I worked
Yeah,
up, and
it's real.
yeah, it is. It's helpful for us and for in the fiscal plan. We use that every day. So we determine if we need to formal quotes, informal, or if it needs to go to Appendix 9. So that's part of the process. And basically, that's how we do it.
All
So
right,
if
thanks.
you need a flow chart, I can do that, but that's,
No, I think your attachments answer the question.
and
That's all, like, if we're good, we're good. Thank you for answering the question. Ground care report opportunities. I know last time there were some opportunities, I think we might come up with some of the guys. Is there any more opportunities you want to talk, or did anything come of those?
yeah, honestly, I was questioning what information you wanted from it, so I brought two of our, our grounds lead and our assistant director. If you had any specific questions, they could answer. But I think we're so busy, we're so focused on IPM right now that unless you had a specific question, I guess I haven't.
Did you have any folks that came last time? Okay. All right, moving on to agenda setting then. I think I'll put solar on if there's anything to do,
All right.
this is too much from now. Appendix 9, Craig will bring back some language suggestions. We're gonna bring back the design/service procedure, what we're doing now.
Are you getting this?
We're gonna bring back bid specification language.
Yeah, instructions to bidders is really, or general conditions.
General conditions.
Yeah,
General conditions,
yes.
anything else to add?
What was the one you said prior to that?
I missed them all.
I
Sorry.
got them here.
All right.
Design service
Solar,
plan.
appendix 9, design/service procedure,
Okay.
general conditions. Anything you want to talk pretty summary?
At some point, we could talk about Pebble projects, but I think, is this the last one before summer?
Well, with the
No.
January, we'll meet in March, right?
Yeah, so I would,
Yeah.
I'm not ready to do that. Wait.
All right, we'll wait. Anything else for agenda?
I think the push on the bid work is the one that,
I can take some time next time to try to
Right,
finalize that.
exactly.
Okay,
And the one thing I'll just say is I want to thank Ben and staff for all the hard work they're doing in IP on putting in a lot of time, and apologize if they were here for this. No, and I think we're making some real progress on that, and I think when we come to a consensus, I think we will reach a good consensus and have something good for the district.
yeah, great. All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Means adjourned.
All right, I got solar, we got appendix 9. What am I missing there?
Design/service
Design/service.
procedure.
The process we use
General
for
conditions.
but
Any service.
but that part's what I.
But it's the design service piece.